Hey, what's up? New video today. I'm trying making videos for every new track I make, and unfortunately I'm making very little amount of tracks these days compared to something like 20 years ago where I was actually making probably 30 tracks a month. These days I probably make 30 tracks a year for this IJA project. And I often question myself, why am I the fucking focus there? I hate that focus. So I often question myself, why am I even doing this? Literally 10 years ago I wanted to quit this whole IJA thing, but I kind of kept doing it and to a point where I'm like, why? Nobody cares, nobody listens to it. I mean, I do it for myself, but I still feel kind of a pressure to not stop doing it. But at the same time, what the fuck am I even doing it? But anyway, I try to make. It's just that so many things are happening right now in my life as well. And I just prioritize other things. I keep saying that almost on all my videos. I keep prioritizing, family, other things, and I also have another YouTube channel which I started a couple of years ago, simply by wanting to try out if I could actually make some passive income through, uploading my own music to YouTube twice a week and see where it gets me. And it actually went pretty where I wanted to be, and it's kind of keep growing. So the thing is, I always wanted to, make a living with music, just so I could continue making music. And unfortunately, for the most part of my life, these things just wasn't happening. So I had to have really shitty jobs, especially when I was living in England. If I haven't left for England and stayed in Lithuania when I was in my 20s, that was 2006, I would have probably made it with music, because before leaving for England, I already had established some connections, networking, where I was making music for TVs and radios and just that kind of stuff, and I was making money. But I was very young, and then just the London thing happened. Just a lot of us, 20, 30 friends of mine, we just kind of all moved to UK at the same time, and just then the different kind of life started for me for another 10 years. So yeah, and when living in England, basically everybody is an artist, everybody is a music producer, so the competition was just, and England is an expensive country to live, so it's very difficult to live there without having a job. So I had some really shit jobs and stuff just so I could support myself and then make music on the side. But once I got back to Lithuania, I started my own business in videography, because I still try to do things with music, but it's very unsustainable, especially here in Lithuania, when they ask you to gig, can you come over and play a live set for 100 euros? And you're like, what the fuck? It takes me 3 full days to just prepare for my live sets just so I could get 100 euros for that. Fuck that, And that videography business kind of took over, and I start making less and less music because I was making more and more videos and stuff. And while that sort of creative, I was, for the first time in my life, I was making a living doing the creative work, which wasn't music, but was still videography. And a couple of years ago, I decided to start this YouTube channel where I would upload science fiction, visually inspired ambient music for people to chill out to, just 2 hours really calm kind of music. And it took off, that channel took off. And by now I'm actually able to make some passive income through that channel that kind of allows me to pay the rent, the bills like electricity and other stuff. So I'm finally able to make some sort of passive income through my music, which is not jungle, it's ambient. And my channel has some videos have as much as 500,000 views, which generates through AdSense, well, not a lot of money, but I live in Lithuania and the rent prices over here are not as expensive as say somewhere in London or whatever. So I am able to live off my music, but that's different kind of music. And sometimes like the Aija thing, you know, I've been doing since I was 15, since like what, 90s, you know. And throughout all those years, it didn't really get me anywhere. And by that I mean I wasn't able to make a living with it. So when I'm in my 40s, I'm like always thinking like, why am I doing it? You know, I'm sure like a lot of you also are in the same position where you just ask yourself, why the fuck am I, you know, doing it? Nobody's interested in it and stuff. And but yeah, I will continue my rant maybe in another video. Let's get back to the track. Well, I keep changing places so the video would be more interesting to watch. So the track is not jungle or drum and bass as such, as I'm pretty sure a lot of you are here on my channel through my jungle production, which I've been extensively doing for the past 4 years, but I'm tired of it, and I said that in previous videos. I feel like every time I sit down to make jungle track, I end up making exactly the same track, which the whole jungle scene for me these days, I'm sorry, but it sounds like one and the same track, which is kind of boring, you know. I don't even honestly like listen to jungle at all. To me, it's already kind of like too fast, too energetic, and all I want is just chill, you know. 40s is when you want to chill, like you're done with that, you know, young people's stuff and games and parties and stuff. You just want to chill. So hence, like normally I even listen to different kind of music, slower music, still electronic, it could be experimental, but not as fast. So that being said, this track is sort of like a drum and bass at 140 BPM, so it's just a bit slower, melodic and stuff. Yeah, and let's hop on to my computer and I'll show you the details of how I made it. I'm back in my usual space. So yeah, I'm using Reason, like in most of my past videos. I kind of stopped using Akai for a while because I've reset up everything, like redone my stable, and I had to put Akai a bit on a side, which is very in an uncomfortable position to work with. And also it just takes too much time to program that and stuff, and I just don't want to spend that time on, you know, things that are not related to making music. You know what I mean? Like when you make music with computers, you just drag and drop your samples and it's really quick to set up your session. Whilst with Akai S1000, you just have to sample every sound, takes time, then you just chop it inside it, create key groups and programs, which is just, you know, at least half an hour of non-music related stuff. And while even a few years ago, I was hooked on making music with my sampler. I've done enough tracks that way, and you know, I'm getting bored of like when things are repeating and they become stable and the same. I'm getting bored of that, and I always need some change. The same thing applies to life in my case. You know, I always try and introduce sort of like changes in my life just to make things more interesting. So what's the other thing I want to talk about? Yeah, in terms of mixing, I like to compose music inside the computer and do my mixing in an analog mixing desk, because this is more like hands-on experience, everything is more intuitive, and I like the sound of it. However, I sometimes like to run second versions of my mix downs that I do completely in the box. And while I usually hate doing things in the box, within the past couple of years I found a set of my favorite plugins that I actually like using, and these are mostly by UAD, because I've always wanted to have UAD plugins, but I never wanted to like buy their hardware. And since now they're like they've released a lot of plugins natively, so it means that you can run them straight from your computer, don't have to buy additional hardware like Apollo interfaces and stuff, so you can use them inside your computer. So I've got like my favorite set of plugins that I use for mixing down, and I actually can get pretty close results to my analog mixdowns. I mean, when you compare them side by side, they at times sound very identical, and other times you can hear some changes. But I mean, if you would listen to them without the comparison, they both versions, either analog mixdown or in the box mixdown, they sound good. But when you compare them, I am obviously biased towards the analog version, which means that I like the differences that it produces. I mean, it's still analog summing, analog EQs, they have their own kind of color, but in a bigger, scheme of things, it doesn't really matter, I believe. It's just that I do prefer the analog chain a little bit, but I could do without it, and it probably would be even more productive right now for me, because sometimes when you feel like working with all these machines and stuff might be fun, and other times you're like, it may not be inspiring. So it would be nice to have two studios, one for just, completely analog setup, and one just more like computer-based setup, which I cannot do that due to my space, because I live in a flat and my studio is in a flat, which is like a must for me. If I had like a studio somewhere I had to go, oh, fuck that, nah, it just wouldn't work for me. So on to the track. I'm using NNXT samplers for running my breaks, and Mimic for running other sounds. NNXT sample player compared to like Amigo or VST or like real samplers, it's pretty transparent. It doesn't add any character at all. So if you want to have a bit of a more character, you have to pre-process your breaks or sounds. In my case, I could run them through like S1000, but in this case, I didn't do anything of that because I just wanted to make music. I just wanted to quickly, set up my session and just start writing stuff, programming breaks and making music. Again, when I make music, I mostly try to make it for myself, because this gives me some kind of freedom, as opposed to thinking of the listener and would they like it or not. I don't like that mentality. Whenever I make music, I make it for myself because I want to make it the way I want it, and I don't give up. If people like it or not. I mean, it's nice when people like it, but when people don't like it, I don't really care, So this time on this track, I'm not using any like my own samples. I've quickly sampled other records, and I deliberately used the same samples that Source Direct used in their tracks, because you can go into YouTube and you like Source Direct samples. And you have those videos where they just show up like different tracks of Source Direct and the original samples they use. So I'm like, fuck that, I'm gonna like use that. I'm just gonna, again, make music for fun. I'm not trying to be inventive anymore. It's something I did when I was like 20 years ago, or at least I hoped I was doing something like really new, inventive music. But these days, even like I just wanted to have fun and make it sound interesting. So yeah, the track is pretty simple. 8 tracks, 8 channels of sounds. I've got, as always, breaks, 3 channels of breaks, and these are very simple breaks. So the channel 1 has these chops. Yeah, so three chops. Channel 2 has this another break. Yeah, simple as that. And then track 3, another break number 3. 3 chops, easy to program, simple, but yeah. Then I have the 808, which is run by Mimic sampler. And now the pad that's used in Source Direct. Then there's these effects sounds, also used by Source Direct. Another pad. And more effect sounds. So that's all there that I have. And as I said, I run all those channels through my mixing desk where I do all the mixing, a bit of saturation, the analog EQs, which I really like. They just kind of sound differently and they add kind of like distortion, like pleasant distortion. And the whole analog summing that is a bit different from the digital summing. It kind of has the interesting organic glue, like a compression on the whole mix down. It kind of like a bit saturates everything. I don't even know how to explain, but looking at the waveforms you can see that digital mix downs is sort of like stacked sounds together, and running them through the analog mixing desk you kind of get a bit of a different I don't know, way of summing, if I can say so. Also, a couple of them breaks running through the Behringer compressor to tie them up a little bit, and then I've got LSS Quadra Verb for some reverbs and stuff on everything basically. And that's it. I know I've talked a lot in this video. Thank you for watching it through. I'm gonna play that track right now, and I've got some more jungle stuff from like my archives that haven't been released, and I'm planning on doing self-release, digital self-release, which is gonna be free. And now enjoy the track. You can leave a comment if you like it or not. Positive comment, negative comment, I read them all and try to reply to all of them anyway. See you on the next video. Bye.